Hey everybody, and welcome back to the internet once again. I've mostly gotten my voice back by now, so it's time for me to read some more stories. Also, I've got some good channel improvements coming pretty soon, so hopefully we can break up the monotony and make things a little more interesting. So this first one's a long one. It's called, Entitled Mom Demands That I Pay for Her and Her Kids' Food After I Paid for 2 officers when I go on my break. So I work today from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. So I work at a CFA, so if you work more than 5 hours, you're required a 30-minute break. I'm also on spring break, and I was scheduled every day except for Wednesday. There's a reason I'm telling you this. So I told one of the managers on deck today that I wasn't hungry, and so whoever wanted to go on break or was hungry could go. The way breaks go is whoever came in earlier got a break first. Like I said, I wasn't that hungry, so my coworkers thanked me and they had their breaks. We had a rush when my manager came up to me after I finished taking this sweet elderly woman's order and told me to go on break since I was the only person working more than 5 hours who hadn't taken one. I signed out of my register and went to the back to get my phone, keys and wallet, Yeti cup, and backpack with my Mac and homework that my wonderful teachers gave me over the only break I've had since winter break. I came back up to clock out and went around the counter to get in line to order. My ticket said 6:04 p.m., so I'd get back at 6:34. When I went around the corner, I saw 2 police officers who come to CFA a lot, usually late at night, and I greeted them. I'm usually a frontline worker, so they know me well. I stopped and let them move past me and move behind them. Police officer 2 stayed back at first to keep the door open for, dun dun dun, entitled mom and their 2 kids. They didn't even thank or look at the police officer for holding the door. I shuffled behind the police officer after letting him pass me. It was kind of rude because I shoved in front of the entitled mom and her little turds, but hey. I've only got 30 minutes to eat, and we were getting a rush, so it would take a bit to get my food. I hear the entitled mom mutter something behind me, but don't pay her any attention. The line shuffles forward, and police officer 1 and 2 are arguing slightly over who's paying when I look up from my phone. The manager who told me to go on break as she was swiping her card to put in the police discount. I quickly move around the bars and put my card while they're ordering, and both kindly tried to stop, but I figured, why not? I say, it's on me today, guys. They're both like, nah, bud, don't worry about it. Behind us, the entitled mom says, can you guys hurry it up? I've got hungry kids here. So I tell my manager to just tender it, and she does. Both police officers thank me, and I say it's my pleasure. I move up to the register, and it's my employee discount, so it's up to $7, and I just pay the extra. I order my usual, spicy sandwich, add pepper jack and bacon, and a large fry. I just pay the extra $1, something left over, and I get some sauces and go sit in the back room so I can start my work. Unfortunately, the back room has a glass window where the playpen is, so kids can watch you as you try to enjoy those 30 minutes of peace, which is hard when all you hear is them screaming. I sit down and face the window of the playpen so I can lean against the wall and relax while I wait for the food. I put my backpack in the seat to my right. I lean against the wall to my left. The police officers got their food, ate, and came into the back room saying thanks again, and we talked for a bit. When I said they were cool guys, I mean it. They literally came and talked with me for a bit and cracked jokes. So after a couple minutes passed, the police officer says, we should probably get out of your hair so you can enjoy your break before people start thinking we're interrogating you. They were both standing while I was sitting, so it looked a bit like that. I say, thanks again, buddy. I say, don't worry about it. Think of it as my thanks for keeping us safe, I said as I waved goodbye to them. They left as my food came. There were no spicy fillets down, so I had to wait a bit. I was doing my homework and eating when my friend FaceTimed me. Behind me was the wall where there's a large window, so I caught a glare on my phone. I adjusted my phone so it looked like I was recording the kids in the playpen. I didn't know. Entitled mom comes in a minute later, all pissed. So I'm still FaceTiming my friend and making plans for Wednesday with her and some other people. I say, hi ma'am. She says, you're a rude kid, you know that. You pay for all those officers, but you won't pay for me and my kids. They're starving. She's got her kids with her, both whining. I say, sorry? I'm so confused. She says, you should pay for me and my kids' food. Those cops probably just get fat eating donuts all the time. You don't need to pay for them. I say, ma'am, I paid for them because I know them. They come here a lot and they're both nice guys. Unfortunately, ma'am, if your kids are so hungry, you probably should have just ordered food. I'm sure you would have gotten it by now. My friend on FaceTime says, you there? She asked and the entitled mom heard it. She says, what's that, you pervert? You're recording those kids? No wonder you sat there. Me, still confused and already getting tired of this goblin spawner's BS. They say, hey, let me call you back. Said, okay. Yeah, you call your little perverted girlfriend back later so you can rape her. I stood up and threw my sandwich down and she looks at it, then my work, and my Mac, and my cup. She says, look, you pay for me and my kids' food and I won't tell everyone what a dirty little pervert you are. You have enough money to buy things like Yeti cups and Macs, so I think you could spend some on me. And I thought Muslims don't eat bacon. I'm not all that proud of this. First off, call me a pervert and I'll gladly call my manager to check the cameras. They've got hearing and they'll hear me talking to my friend. Secondly, I'm not Muslim, I'm Hindu, and even if I was, what does that matter to some self-absorbed weasel like you? Thirdly, I paid for those officers because they're nice, unlike you. And my Mac was a Christmas gift from my parents. The Yeti cup was a gift from my friend, who I was having fun flaunt to before you rudely interrupted us and I had to let her go. The kid says, I want a drink, I'm thirsty. Me too. The entitled mom literally points them at my Yeti cup and they both go at it. Now I'm at work, so it's not like I could just shove those kids away, so I made for my drink and entitled mom literally shoves into me, making me slam into the table, and I toppled onto one of her little entitled turds. Meanwhile, the others don't know how to freaking pull the lid off my cup and slams it into the table repeatedly until the lid pops off. Now here's the worst part. My food, Mac, and freaking homework gets soaked with root beer, and all this lady says is, haha. So me, now in pain and pissed, I say, are you serious? You just say, haha? You just ruined my work, my computer, and my food? On top of that, you shoved me, and now my ribs hurt, and you made me fall on your kid, who's crying. I literally, crap you not, she just screams this. You were about to molest my child, and I pushed you out of the way. You're a disgusting pervert boy who touches kids. Now at this point, people had seen what had really been happening, and my managers were called. I'm still on the floor, my ribs hurt a bit, her kid is crying next to me while the other turd is making an even worse mess of my cup, which is currently dented on the sides and the bottom, so it doesn't even sit right. Thankfully, my manager figured what was happening. This stuff was insane. She started calling my manager, who was a freshman in college, same as me, a molester too, screaming and cursing at her. I felt bad for her way more than I felt for her crying little waste of space. My manager came to help and they threatened to call the police. And she went out, literally kicking me as she went to grab her still crying kid and yanked both of them out of the restaurant. Meanwhile, one of the kids still had my Yeti cup. I get up and I'm still suffering and pissed because now my Mac is sticky, the keys and the mouse pad, my homework and food drenched, and I'm a bit dizzy for a couple seconds. My manager helped me get my stuff settled while one manager apologized like the other families who'd been in the dining area. I was literally so pissed. Thankfully, my manager told me to just stay here for a bit and they'd just promo my food. The manager who rang up my food came and had her break with me and just chilled for a bit until I was calm again. We finished eating and clocked back in and she asked me if I wanted to go to the window since it was slow right now. I said yes and we swapped registers and like she said, it was slow. A car finally pulls up and they order, and my friend tells me to just repeat it all because there were kids screaming and they couldn't hear it all that well. They pull up to the window and once again, I'm not making this up, that lady came through the freaking drive-thru. She saw me and stopped at the window. Her little turd was in the passenger seat, still holding my dented Yeti cup. And I literally watched her roll down the passenger window and grab my cup from her kid's hand and chuck it out before driving it off, screaming that I'm a rude pervert and whatnot. I literally just kept working, and the manager who I had my break with just got my cup for me, and I was just quiet with my coworkers and managers until I got home and had to explain everything to my parents. Honestly, this lady didn't just ruin my cup, my Mac, or my day. She ruined my whole spring break. I'm going in tomorrow to talk to my boss because we're filing a complaint and we did call the police. We got her car model and license plate, so if the guys want to know what happened, then let me know. Man, it kinda sucks that you can't just do something nice for somebody without somebody else watching it and getting mad that you're not doing it for them too. Some people just think that everyone owes them something. So this next one is called Entitled Parent Tries to Steal My Seat at a Movie Theater. So I've low-key always wanted to see an entitled parent in the wild, and I did. So my town has a large shopping area in it centered by a large cinema that's quite nice as it has many amenities. I don't typically go to this one as it's more expensive, but why not? So this was last weekend on a Saturday, and I was stopping by a grocery store to get candy to sneak in. Look, I never said I was a saint. And I saw this woman with around 5 or 6 children with her. I would estimate about 6 to 12 years old, and she was arguing with the cashier about a candy bar her daughter was trying to steal. She was about 7 or 8, and the cashier saw it. The cashier and her were arguing, but he let it slide. I thought I'd never see her again, and she was just a crazy one, but oh no, I was mistaken. So I go around to the cinema to see the movie Us, and I was excited. So I prepaid and scanned in and walked to the auditorium where Us was playing and sat down. Now this theater had assigned seating, so I was towards the middle one row above the handicapped row. I was seated comfortably for about 45 to 50 minutes, until the scene where the family was watching the news report and then the family walked in. I wasn't certain at first, but I knew it was them. because I'm the luckiest human on Earth, she asked me to sacrifice my seat, and I believe she was going to go down the row one by one until all of her demons were seated. I was first. So she looks at me, and it scared the crap out of me. I didn't see her, I was startled. And she says, "Hey you, get up." I say, "No." She says, "Why? I have children." I say, "I paid for this seat." She says, "Yeah, well, the seats I bought were on this row." I was like, "No, this row is full of people who selected these seats when purchasing them. If you bought your seats, why wouldn't you sit there?" She says, "Please let me sit here. I have children and we all want to see this movie." I say, "So you take small children to an R-rated movie and you arrive halfway through?" She says, "Ugh, just let me sit." She began to nudge me. This hurt a lot because around that time I had a limp because I had a badly bruised left leg from falling down the stairs. I say, "Hey, what the heck are you doing? That hurts." She says, "Give me the seat." I say, "You didn't pay for it, you don't sit in it." She says, "Go F yourself, you're so heartless." So then this guy comes up with the glowy thingies and says, "Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." She began just like muttering rapidly and then she got kicked out. I've never seen her before and hope to never see her again. In retrospect, she probably got the tickets to some other movie then tried to sneak her kids into us. The theater won't allow anyone under 10 to see an R-rated film. Either that or she snuck in. If I have any updates, I'll keep y'all posted. My favorite line from this is, "So you take small children to an R-rated movie and then just arrive halfway through?" Yeah, why even go to watch a movie if you've already missed the first half of it? So this story is called, "Entitled Parent Thinks That I Must Pay for Her Car Crash When I'm Underage." So for a bit of context, I live on a relatively busy road near a big shopping center, so there's a lot of people around. So I was working in my garage sorting things out. I look around randomly as you do when enter entitled parent with a loud screech of tires and a bang. She screams through her open car window. So entitled parent has gone and smashed into two separate parked cars, knocking one onto the sidewalk and removing the side mirror. The other car suffered minor damages, but who cares? At this point, the entitled mom has gotten out of the car and is busily on the phone and checking out the damages on her car. It was a big four-wheel drive, so it wasn't damaged badly. After inspecting her car and ignoring her kid who she had in the back, about 3 or 4, she walks off to the car she hit. Seems normal, right? Wrong. She proceeded to yell for the owners of the crashed cars to come and apologize. Now these people are clearly not there, and the entitled mom is getting angrier by the minute. Enter this person. He says, "Is there a problem?" He says, "Yes, is that your car?" He says, "No, but you have left your kid in your car." "Don't tell me how to parent." I said nothing like that. I say, "No, he was just trying to help you. Stop yelling." He says, "Shut up, I'm calling the cops." So me and this guy exchange confused looks. Fast forward a few minutes and the cops actually arrive, surprisingly. The officer says, "What seems to be the problem?" "These two crashed into my car and are refusing to give me their details." I say, "What?" This person says, "What the heck?" He says, "Pay for my car now." The officer says, "Please give this lady your details." I say, "What?" She says, "Now." He's like, "No, firstly, you crashed into those cars, and second, I'm underage and I can't even legally drive." The officer says, "Arrest him for driving without a license." He's like, "I wasn't even driving." She says, "Hurry up, my kids need to get to their swimming lessons." I say, "I don't have a car." She says, "Shut up, you lying fat N-word." Now, no, I'm skinny, and definitely not even black. The officer says, "Lady, stop screaming or I'll arrest you for wasting police time." He says, "Sorry about all this, folks. Please go about your day." At this point, the entitled mom is pale and scared. Then she does the stupidest thing possible. She runs. Entitled mom was later arrested for resisting arrest and also for attempting fraud trying to get us to pay for her car, of which I found out later was not even hers as she was borrowing it, and that it also wasn't insured. To me, this was just a new level of stupidity. It sounds like this lady was just trying to see how many charges she could add up in the shortest amount of time, because it seems like she did pretty well if that was her goal. Okay, and on to the final story called, "No, It's Not Okay to Frame Your Son for Murder." So this story requires a bit of backstory about my family and my life, because the entitled parent starring in this story happens to be my very own father. I will say he wasn't a horrible man, and my childhood was actually a pretty good one. But his personality changed a lot when I was around 10 and he had major surgery. I found out when I was much older that he began cheating on my mother after this time, and by the time my brother and I were in high school, he was quick to temper. Did some stupid reckless things, like cleaning his shotgun in the house without unloading it, causing it to shoot through my wall, and was heavily abusing pills. So it was only natural my parents divorced. My mother got custody of my brother and I, and we moved across the country from my father, who stayed there by his family and his job as a police officer. It only took him a year to claim he missed us. He came to visit us and made all kinds of ridiculous promises. If we lived with him, we'd have so much more fun. We could do whatever we wanted, eat what we want, skip school when we want. School was definitely something we both struggled with. Now, I could see something was wrong from the start, even if I really didn't understand that. But my brother? He and my mom had been butting heads often, and he jumped at the chance to go. Mom let him. She wasn't going to force him to stay with her. She really regrets it now. So Dad got exactly what he wanted, which is a nice big check from Mom every month. He hadn't been paying child support to Mom because she knew he didn't make much. So with my brother there, she wanted to take care of him. But the money definitely didn't go where it should have. My dad's girlfriends, electronics, pills, they hardly ever had proper food and necessities, and they lost the house within a year and had to move in with my grandmother. So my brother and Dad were barely on speaking terms by then, but my brother had gotten into drugs and alcohol thanks to my dad, fought a lot in and outside of school and really wasn't doing well. So this situation lasted over a year, until something terrible happened. We got the call. The call absolutely everyone who has a family member in law enforcement dreads. It was so many years ago now, but I could still remember the terror I felt at it. My dad had been a sheriff deputy for years, but he'd never really gotten hurt. He did fairly safe patrols, the kind of small town guard work, but this day, during a traffic stop, someone shot him 3 times in the chest, luckily nailing him in the bulletproof vest. But it still did damage thanks to it being from a very close range. Bad bruising and some broken ribs. He got a call for help out on his radio before he passed out and was found and rushed to the hospital. His claim was that he'd been shot by some Latino men. It was unbelievable from the start, honestly. He lived in a very small town. Things like that just really didn't happen. But by then, it was well known my brother really hated my dad, and he was a problem kid. So the other cops, my dad's friend, thought he was lying to cover up that it was my brother who shot him. State troopers were brought to investigate one way or the other. Over the next month, money was raised by the community and church to cover my dad's hospital bills and recovery, and he was donated all kinds of food and necessities every week to take care of him all the way up to Christmas, where my dad and brother drove up to spend it with us. It was bad. My dad showed up at our door with a shotgun in hand, and he was acting so incredibly cagey. The shotgun stayed with him at all times, when he slept, when he went to the bathroom, and many times he just went out to drive around. Cue most unsettling 2 days ever. So all 3 of us avoided the heck out of him, but finally Mom got the truth out of him. He was wanted for questioning by the state troopers, and he was running. Seems they'd finally worked out what he'd done. He had the bright idea that he could make some quick cash if he was injured on the job, so he decided to fake a police shooting, by shooting himself, point blank, 3 times in the chest. Oh, but he knew he'd be fine. He put on a vest. Nothing could have possibly gone horrifically wrong. Best of all, he knew that he couldn't use his own gun. That'd be too obvious, so he stole my brother's gun, used it to shoot himself, and threw it into the engine back of the cruiser to hide it. It took them a while to find it, but if he had died, it's very likely my brother who would have been paying the price. We were horrified. My brother was pissed. Christmas was ruined. We decided to go ahead and have it that night, about 4 days early anyway, so that my dad could turn himself in afterwards peacefully, without the shotgun. I asked him later what it was for. He'd been trying to work up to killing himself on those drives he took. Surprisingly, he got off the charges with a strict parole, but we didn't see him very often after that, and obviously my brother came back to live with us. A few years later, well, a DUI and belligerence at a Sonic was what finally sent him to jail. Dang, that's a bit of a dark story. Pretty crazy dad. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed these entitled people and parents stories for today. I'm thinking about maybe once a week, maybe on the weekends, I'm going to do like an extra long video. So we'll see when I get around to doing that kind of thing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.